Brown fat. What is it? What is brown fat cells in comparison to white fat cells and beige fat cells? Where is the brown fat in the body? In babies, young, and old adults. It varies according to the age of the individual. What is the relation between brown fat and circadian rhythm and biological health of the body? What are the tools to increase body brown fat? Cold exposure is one of the factors to increase brown fat. How much, how often, and how it works. Exercises. What type of exercises and for how long and how often? How circadian rhythm related to brown fat production? Is sunlight related to brown fat production? If so, what are the wavelengths? What type of food increase brown fat? What are the human studies about brown fat? And what are rat studies about brown fat? And how we could apply rat studies to human studies? So many questions about brown fat. If we examine a cell of brown fat under the microscope, we will see that it is very rich in mitochondria, which are the batteries, and very little fat. And these mitochondria will burn the nutrients to produce heat, which increase the body temperature. And this way of function of mitochondria is called uncoupling, coupling, C-O-U-P-L-I-N-G, uncoupling. But also, the brown fat cell produce a little energy in the form of chemical energy, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, for the function of the brown fat cells. And these brown fat, they are very richly supplied with peripheral nerves, which secrete adrenaline hormones, meaning they are related to the sympathetic part of the autonomic nervous system. So the fat will be converted into CO2, carbon dioxide, and water, and it is excreted from the body. It could burn about 200 calories per day. This brown fat constitutes 1 to 2% of body weight, and brown fat now it is considered as an organ, and it has function, it has benefit, and we could help in increasing the amount of brown fat. This brown fat, it will be 5% of the body of the athlete who do exercises in the cold and might burn 250 calories per day or even more. Newborn babies, children, they have more brown fat. Why? Because they don't have skeletal muscles to shiver when they are exposed to the cold. So babies, they are protected from hypothermia, which is a very low body temperature, by the amount of brown fat in their bodies. But as we grow older, this brown fat will be decreased. And as we become adults, the brown fat will be at the back, between the shoulder blades, around the neck, and some of it in the chest, and around the neck. And one theory is that this brown fat will increase the temperature of the blood going to the brain, if we are exposed to the cold, because the brain is in the skull and there are no muscles to shiver to produce heat when we are exposed to the cold. In Norway, I have seen children, newly born, they expose them to the cold and the ice all around them to increase their brown fat production and to increase to improve their immune system, so that when they become adult, they will not be affected by flu or influenza, and they will be very healthy. The experiment is done by exposing the body to 15 degrees Celsius, which is equal to 60 Fahrenheit, for 10 days. First day, they expose them to this temperature for 2 hours. Second day for 4 hours. And from the third day to the 10th day for 6 hours. They found that there is improvement in blood sugar control, about 60%, and there is improvement in insulin sensitivity by 42%. So exposure to cold, it will stimulate the autonomic nervous system and the central nervous system, and this will send signals to the brown fat, and which they are rich in the nerves, and then these cells will burn the fat and produce heat. If we examine a white fat cell, the cell will be full with one blob or balloon of white fat, and the nucleus and very few mitochondria are pushed between this bubble of fat and the cellular membrane. And these white fat cells are not active metabolically like the brown fat cells, and they are storage of extra energy in the form of fat. And this fat will not be burned in the white fat cells unless we use the glucose in the blood and the glycogen, which is stored in the liver cells and in the striated muscle cells. Then, and only then, the body will start to burn the white fat stored in the white fat cells. So, the striated muscle cells and the liver store only 2,000 calories as glucose in the form of glycogen, and each molecule of glycogen will be connected to 3 to 4 molecules of water, so that if we have high blood glucose in the blood and high insulin in the blood, we will retain water, because insulin hormone will dilate the blood vessels and the water will diffuse into the internal environment which is surrounding the cells, and also the insulin will work on the kidneys to retain sodium and salt, and so the water will be retained by two mechanisms of insulin hormone. And 2,000, if you divide it on 4, which is the calories of glucose, each gram of glucose if it is burned, so we are really storing only 500 grams of sugar, which is about half a kilogram. And I think this is good as part 1. Thank you.